What's up, guys? It's John with National Sports Entertainment, and we are finally, technically, by a minute, that was actually an accident, but that's interesting timing, the day of Game 4, Game 2 on the 4th. Again, if I really want to go live for this, I think it'll be a very good live experience. So if you guys want me to, just let me know. And I'm thinking around 7. Actually, what I thought would be fun, because I'm sure you guys got TVs and whatever, like two devices if you want. Again, I don't want to, if people are going to be watching the game, I thought it'd be fun to kind of watch the game together maybe and talk about it live. So let me know if you want me to do that. I think that would be fun. Maybe we can notice some things. I like the Heat, that's all I can say. I like them even more seeing Tyler Hero is not playing. I think a lot of people are expecting, he's going to return and go nuts, and he might. But to be honest, I'm a little skeptical about when he does. I might not take them that game. So anyway, on the road, Game 2 in Denver, and I think this is where Jimmy starts to, he already has been telling his story, but here's where I think we really see it. I don't think, this isn't an end-all, but I went over this before. This isn't a series that I think the Heat can afford to go down 2-0, real or fake. For the simple reason, they are pinning Denver as impossible to win. Now, sure, he can go down and then win the rest in Denver, and that would really say a lot. But I don't think that's going to be the path to victory. I think, again, they're going to, quote, steal one on the road. So what they talked about, the talking heads, was essentially what we knew. Denver is a completely, unified front who just makes it look easy. And they have all the grit that the Heat have, but they have more talent. Murray deserves to be in the All-Stars. Go ahead and kick Jimmy out of Club Superstar and put Murray in there, essentially. Bam, again, they underplayed what he did. They said he had the best game that he's probably going to have in the finals. They said, he had some good jump shots, and they were falling, so he got some points. They really didn't talk about his 26-14. Again, not that Joker's the best defender, but you did it against the best player in the world. So I think Bam, again, I like his props all series. I think he does well. And I do think that one thing the talking heads said will come to fruition. They went over how horrible and abysmal the Heat were at threes and how bad they did from the free throw line. And Jimmy's one of those guys where it seems like Brady used to do this, Tom Brady. He'd pace himself in such an obvious way where, you could tell, in the first 58 minutes of the game, this guy can't complete a pass, and then in the final 2 minutes, he's just bam, bam down the field like it's Madden, and he wins the game. So I think Jimmy is going to do the same thing today. I think he's going to have one of those games where he just goes insane, and we're going to see more than 2 free throws, which they went over quite a bit. We're going to see him attacking, driving, and I expect guys like Martin, guys like Strus, all those guys that just weren't coming through. Don't forget about Gabe Vincent. Don't forget about Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry's one of those guys who he can get hot, and he just kind of hides out. It's funny because they talked about the Joker, obviously. Batman is what Kyle Lowry called Jimmy, and Jimmy, Lowry's like Robin. He's just kind of he's like a shadow out there. You don't really hear his name, but he comes through when you need him to. So I absolutely love the Heat for the cover. Not the cover, I'm sorry, for the win. Plus 300. You can see they moved the over-under a decent bit. It was in the lower 200s. And after such a low-scoring game, you might wonder why. So that might be an indication that we're going to see a lot of 3 balls. I could be wrong, but I like the Heat here for the win. To me, it just makes sense 1-1 going back to Miami. I think the public's going to be on Denver. We're getting the same spread. They just cleaned the Heat's clock. And I think the public's looking at it as that was not a 11 or 13-point game, whatever it was. That was like a 20-point game that at the end, then the Heat just happened to hit a couple shots. So, from all aspects, I like the Heat in this game. I've been with them, since the Celtics. Actually, I've been with them since the Knicks. I didn't have them beating the Bucks, but once they got past them, I really like them to advance because they just made sense to me. They made, Philly was obviously my original team, and the Heat were, my second, because I really do take the color theory seriously. Now, we'll see how that goes. Didn't look too good for the Panthers tonight, but I think we see, an interesting series there. But yeah, the pick is the Heat plus 300. Can't go wrong. I think it's great value, and I think people are just completely sleeping on the Heat. Obviously, you can see the Nuggets coach Malone. He's coming out like, these guys are not to be trifled with. So that's the right thing to say. But I think the talking heads really want so the same guy's got him covering and Jimmy going under. That should be interesting. I'm wondering his logic there. Maybe he thinks they're going to hit a lot of threes. Anyway, yeah, I like the Heat to win. And I just think they will get the first win in Denver in quite some time. I don't think they've won in Denver in like 7 years. So I think they really want to set that precedent. And think about Jimmy's story. This is why I'm so sold on Jimmy. And they're telling this story, but they're not really like pushing it. What did he do? He was a play-in. He fought for his life, and then he had a play, I think it was the Bulls. Beats them with a great performance. Then he gets into the playoffs, and his first matchup is against Giannis, arguably the best player on the planet. I think he's like the third, but arguably the best player on the planet. Gets injured, but he plays most of the games. Jimmy was injured too, so I don't think that's much of an excuse for either team. And, of course, Jimmy beats Giannis. Then he goes to Madison Square, and Trae Young is no longer the owner of the Knicks. It's now Jimmy Butler. Beats them. Plays Boston, where it's him versus Tatum, and Brown. People can argue Game 7, but the fact that it even was a Game 7 kind of indicates Tatum's injury wasn't that important, because it wasn't like with Tatum was killing them when he was in. Jimmy goes to Boston and wins that. Now he's in Denver. This is final boss, like Final Fantasy VII Sephiroth or something. This is like the final boss status, Joker in Denver, with the altitude, all of that stuff. That's why I love Jimmy. To me, there's no story to him doing all this and then just losing. Like, whether it makes some type of story, but I think they're really trying to push this guy as one of a kind. And how do you do that? Well, this would be like the first time this ever happened. Dirk, I don't think that I compared it, but if you really think about it, he had way more help. Like, they were older guys, but still, if anyone is looking on paper, they're going to take Dirk's team with Chandler and all those guys, before they're going to take the Heat, who essentially have Bam, who's inconsistent, and that's it. And Butler, of course. So, yeah, I like the Heat for the win tonight. We can certainly go live. And again, thank you everyone for the support. I really appreciate it. My baseball's been a little off. I've been, posting some baseball picks, and started off pretty rough since I've returned, but that's kind of how it works. There's always going to be some ruts. Sometimes they're in the beginning, but I know we'll get back on track with baseball, because the same reason we did it all year long with every sport. The numbers just bear out in the end. So, yeah, Heat 300, love it. And like I said, just let me know regarding live what's a good time for you guys or something. So take care and happy earnings.